Evening, everybody. I'd like to call our Manlius board meeting, June 28th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. As always, we are virtual. You can join us via Zoom. We are streaming to Facebook and to YouTube, as well as on our website. And if there's any interest in getting on there, we've got the instructions for the agendas. Next up, I will ask Bruce to come on and introduce at the top of our meetings, we do open podium. This is an opportunity for residents to come and share comments, questions, anything of that matter with the board. We ask that everybody stick to just about 3 minutes. I've got a list here of folks who have signed up to speak. I know we've got someone here remotely who would like to speak. So I'll go through this list, and if anybody is online that is interested, just use the raise hand function and we'll get to you as we move through. So first up, I would like to ask Dave Tyler. Serve as the name. Please, retreat showing now. It's great. 6 months. Not sure again, not sure. Secure landing. After this waste site, it's back to this. Okay. Nobody here knows what's happened. Please. You promised that. Yep, and we're gonna communicate as we can. I would think communication can't be. Well, you've got a building burn up. They let us know that they're gonna begin construction and we're gonna get something out. I can try to get something out from one of the residents. Very late. Sure, it is. It's not fair. Next up, we have Joseph Serino.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Joseph Smith. Big Kelly's baby. So I'm here to just address two issues, more question oriented. I kind of do the process every day in my professional life, so process. So I guess I have two questions. One is about the police chief, the second one is about the first question about the police chief is who on this board has any concerns about the process which resulted in the separation agreement? Who on the board is concerned about the process used to result in this
separation? Podium is definitely not effective. So what can happen is you can share these answers with you, but it's not an open hearing. So thank you. I'm just wondering why we're not responding.
Okay, I'd love to hear if anybody that's concerned at the appropriate time. You want to share those concerns? When is that? That you would share those concerns?
We just had a police committee meeting, so that's one way. You can email us and ask us to respond back with everything to you. You can ask for an agenda to be set or a conversation to be set on. Right? You can request whatever. We definitely
Accept it.
Well, you know what? I think we're worried about gotcha.
This wasn't meant to be gotcha. I honestly just.
It's hard out of context.
Have a question. My second question is around voting survey of the land. So as you know, there's two appeals pending right now in the Department of Shelter. And they've obviously made the decision to proceed with construction. So you're not going to answer this question, but my question is anybody concerned that is so regional, taking the appeals that pending that are concerned?
The way you're framing it is like your concern is not a doesn't mean it. Yeah. I don't think
You can excuse contact.
When was the building finished? April 2023. We have a copy of April 2022. That's why it was.
Yeah.
So.
please don't speak right now.
I know that I'm just trying to get back. So we're going to and there is a pending appeal. Well, there's actually. Remember. Guess what I'm so therefore there is also another in the zoning where the zoning board of appeal read that so you read that the case is still pending. There is a hearing scheduled for and so my concern is if it does find in favor of the appeal, which the folks appeal, and there are some nothing to consider when it comes. And any of
That's not true.
okay, not about. Acknowledge when maybe I'm incorrect, but again, my concern is that abundant is moving in basins. Maybe they are willing to do that somewhere down the line, this is that street in Bristol. If there are situations that we need. I just wanted to express my concern of engaging in this situation when there are two pending matters. And
But when you say pending matters, there's only one lawsuit that.
there's an appeal for the.
There is a notice of appeal. The appeal has not been filed. It's a notice. Then the appeal. You have not perfected the appeal. You basically go to court. We may. We have on the original case that Judge Gilbert agreed with that time. And now the zoning board of appeals case, there is one very specific issue that will be heard.
I don't have an attorney, but I just noticed that. I found that interesting, and I just, again, lack of concern around. Things like that. Thank you.
I'm sorry for that.
No, so we'll reach out.
Here, I feel, badly about like inconsistency that Mr. Miller, we did discuss this, we find a way to send an email or get notice about the results of the screening, meeting that we found, and conversation about it.
Next up, we've got Barbara.
Expiration date is the 18th. I get a copy of it. And I'm down to the- I believe her attorney will be able to help. Just notice. It's in the works. And they can't feel changing. The stay. Vision of 267. By pursuing work unlimited. We will be on consistent for next week. The lawsuits and more than 7 weeks, actions. And both of those now decided I could say yes. Schedule. So we can post, we took pictures of today and one. Is now there. Sidestep. I've only lived up here for 8 years. And I might say something for the good of the town. No reactions, the tears, very short. The majority of the voters and the taxpayers don't
in your lists, like the delegate, who's friends. State of Manlius, where they can say Syracuse, West Street. Yeah, signatures and don't even live in town. Everybody's gonna hear a lot of information. They are next 2 years. And for the good of the community, I expect to say everybody should attend these meetings and vote. Just vote along the lines and vote these people that did it. None of us enjoy coming to a meeting like this and complaining. I put that in. And you're forcing us to do it. You're forcing us to do it and discuss it. And you.
And just want to see if I can. I'm not gonna. I just want to make sure that this is.
Interesting.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Okay, great. Well, it's been, I actually haven't really been able to hear anything. It's really choppy and coming in and out. And I don't know if maybe that's because the mics are having trouble picking up the people at the podium. But anyway, my name is Erin Trojan. I reside at 8789 Horseshoe Lane. I'm the president of the Horseshoe Lane Homeowners Association, the primary users in the Skyridge Water District. I would like to demonstrate our support for the town of Manlius pursuing the proposed new water line to serve our residents and the extensions serving our neighbors' clear path for veterans. As many people know, we've been trying to obtain a reliable source of potable water and fire protection for some years now. After several failed attempts and hearing that other property owners along and adjacent to Salt Springs Road are not interested in access to a public drinking water supply, we feel that this is a beneficial solution that takes the financial burden off of those not interested. It is our understanding that only those in the existing Skyridge Water District or the new Clear Path extensions would be financially liable. I know some people are concerned that access to a public water line would encourage subdivisions along Salt Springs Road. There are not public sewers along Salt Springs. According to the zoning for the restricted agricultural zone, where sewers are not available, a lot must have a minimum of 200 foot of frontage and 100,000 square feet, or approximately 2.3 acres. This would not allow typical residential subdivisions. We are grateful that the town and the related agencies continue to pursue securing potable water and fire protection for our neighborhood. I apologize for not attending tonight, but I'm willing to provide whatever assistance may be necessary to ensure that this project moves forward swiftly and effectively. Thank you.
Thank you. And make a note that attending virtually is quite legitimate and appreciated. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else online that would like to make a comment for open podium, please use the raise hand function. Is there anyone here in the audience that would like to make a comment, please?
My name is Jerry Smith. I apologize, first of all, for not signing in. I didn't see the thing. I'm on 527 Cleveland Boulevard. At last month's meeting, there was a decision, a unanimous decision by the board to issue a cease and desist order to a gentleman who was constructing an unpermitted residence. It was given June 6th as the drop dead date, and on the following week, the town had contracted a waste removal to take stuff out of there. A lot of stuff was taken out. There are still 2 buildings there There's still a propane tank there. There's still lumber in the woods. I spoke to Mr. Quatros yesterday just to get an update. And he told me that the remaining stuff that's in the woods needs another level of authority. And I said there was a pallet that was right at the end of the street. The person had used to bring his construction equipment in, and that pallet was just dumped right there and right under the no dumping sign. Anybody knows the broken windows theory knows what happens when you do those things. The pallet, Mr. Quatros called the DOT today. That pallet was gone as I left my driveway tonight. So I want to thank the board, thank them for that, but I do want to express my concern. There needs to be a follow-up on this because there's still junk in the woods.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else here in person who'd like to make a comment for open podium? But come on up.
Hi, I'm Karen Ayub, and I wasn't intending on speaking, but I think what I have to say is a plea. I was here for the police planning meeting, and the job description is very important, I noticed, because 2 times in that job description, you request for transparency. I am a citizen and I request transparency from all of you. It seems that we've got a room full of people consistently asking this board to slow down and explain what's going on. You have a very busy agenda. There's a green agenda. There's a comprehensive plan. There's rezoning going on. We're looking to do something with our police force and hopefully no more than find a good qualified police chief. I'm asking for transparency as a citizen, and I think everyone in this room was asking for the same thing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else here in person? For a comment? Okay,
Can you do them one online?
yes, I bring them up, but I believe this is for an item later on the agenda.
You hear me?
Yes, we can.
How we doing, John?
Doing pretty good. Are
This-
you, is your intent to talk to the, letter you had given us?
It is.
And,
We have that on the agenda later.
yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's a pretty quick thing.
Sure, you could do it in,
Okay,
yeah. Do we move it on the agenda?
the letter, yeah, so, why don't you go ahead, take a minute or two, and we'll just wrap that up, because we don't really have any action to take, but I did wanna, as we discussed, have a formal presentation of that letter.
Yeah, I appreciate that, John. So similar to the previous resident, I too, Kyle Letcher of 5864 Pearson Road, speaking for the merely 40 residents on Pearson Road, formally requesting the town of Manlius to provide and coordinate with Aqua to provide water services. Currently, the first 2 houses off of Route 92 receive an 8-inch water line, services from that. We are looking to extend that. I have been in talks with the Aqua board and board members, and they have constructed a cost estimate to continue that 8-inch main all the way down the remaining Pearson Road. I've also done polling on Pearson Road, and grave majority are looking forward to it, as the well water on Pearson Road, as you know, with Green Lakes, contains high levels of minerals and very hard. So make this pretty short and sweet. I submitted the letter looking to have the ball begin rolling in order to get with the Aqua as well to get the redistricting from the town of Manlius.
So, thank you. So basically, when it comes to district formation, the first thing that's gonna have to happen is we'll have to have a map plan and report generated for the potential water district. And what we would like to just communicate is that we would be looking for the neighbors to come together engage an engineer who can generate that map plan and report. And once that's submitted to the town board, we prepare a petition of everybody in the proposed water district. It sounds like you've already done some of the hard work of getting out there and going door to door and talking to folks. That is the hardest part of this whole process. So what we do is once we have that map plan and report, we'd have our engineers review it. And then, like I said, we generate a petition. We would be able to have a petition here at town hall that folks could come sign. We could give you one to go out and take to the residents. And then the board would be looking for a majority of those folks. Generally speaking, we're looking for more in the 60 to 70 range, not just a clean majority. And then once we've got that petition signed, we can go ahead, create the district and start things rolling.
I appreciate that, John, but in regards to the map, plan profile, geotech, everything required, that also can be provided through Aqua's cost estimate as well, and that services through their engineering.
Okay, so let's do this then. I will reach out to you. We'll set something up. We can talk with the town attorney, myself and the town manager, and we can explore all the options we have to get to there. But that I'll follow up with you either shortly tonight after this meeting or tomorrow. And we can find a time that makes sense to have that conversation.
Sounds fine. Appreciate that. Appreciate your time.
And good luck.
Thank you.
Hey, so we will roll right.
Listeners are reporting that the audio has improved, so
Oh, good.
yes, wiggle before it works.
Make sure we're speaking up as loud as we can.
Okay.
Okay, next up, Recreation Department 2023 summer staff report approval.
Okay, so we did have a last minute addition to that listing that was posted because we had more registrants to the Edward Road Playground staff list. I'd like to make a motion to approve and hire the 2023 summer recreation employees as presented.
I'd like to second that motion.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? It's always good when we have a lot of people sign up for those programs.
We've surpassed last year's.
What's that?
We have surpassed last year's.
Oh, that's great. I mean, I'm happy to be talking about compensation and stuff and being competitive, because I know that was an important part of the hiring process.
Yes.
Okay, so next up, public hearing on stop signs on Muskogee Lane. We like to do the reading.
I'll make a motion to waive the reading of the public notice.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. And I would look for a motion to open.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing. I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. So we have the matter before us to look at adding stop signs at the southwest corner of Muskogee Lane and Widgeon Path and the northeast corner of Muskogee Lane and Islesbury Path as well. So is there anyone here to share a public comment? If there's anyone joining us remotely, please use the raise hand function. Anyone here to make a public comment on this hearing? Okay,
Motion to close.
just give it one more second. Okay, motion to close.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. So, any further discussion? I know this was a request. We had both the highway superintendent, please take a look at it and it makes sense. So does anybody have any questions? or
I
comments?
drove by, it seems.
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion to authorize the local law. Motion to adopt local law 2023-8, amending chapter 139 entitled Vehicles and Traffic of the Code of the Town of Manlius to install stop signs at the intersection of Muskogee Lane and Widgeon Path and the intersection of Muskogee Lane and Aylesbury Path.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Got some stop signs going.
All right.
Okay, next up. So I know this is gonna, well, I'm hoping this is a good conversation with some folks. So we have the Town of Manlius Draft Comprehensive Plan public hearing. This is the plan that's been published for, I believe, about a month. I don't know, Town Clerk Weber, have we received any digital comments for this?
Not since the first initial input, so I don't want to sit here and say no.
Yeah.
Because we did get a lot of communication, especially when the steering committee
Yeah.
was doing their deliberations and that draft was being produced. But since we've moved into this process, I have not received anything in my office.
So, if someone is here remotely, to speak to that, to make a public comment on this,
You have to open it first.
please start using the raise hand function so that we can get to you. So look for a motion to waive.
Like to make a motion to open the public hearing.
Oh,
Wait
really?
first. Oh, we have to make to make a, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to waive the reading of the public notice. I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Now I'd like to make a motion to open the public hearing, and I'll second that.
Okay. Those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, public hearing is open. Anyone in the first row would like to make comments on the comprehensive plan? Okay, starting out on my right, anybody in the second row interested in making a comment? Please come on up, share your name and, I think we'll keep using the timer just so that everybody gets one opportunity.
Come on.
We'll come back around if we need.
Yeah.
I get time and my wife get time too.
The whole thing.
Hi, I'm Tom Kinsella, live at 107 Land Drive in Fayetteville. I'd like to start off and thank the committee, the Comprehensive Plan Committee, for their time and effort. It's quite a document to read through. There's a lot of time and effort gone into that. And especially thank them for putting together the Quarry Advisory Committee that also took a lot of time, and it's appreciated because, like everybody knows, everybody's time is precious, and this took a lot of time. I read the plan, with great interest. I've lived here my entire life. My father's lived here in his entire life. My grandfather lived here his entire life. Great grandfather half the life. We own over 700 acres in the town of Manlius, over 2% of the land in the town of Manlius we own. I'm part of the 14% of the residents that live and work here. We own a business here, so we're vested here, and so this plan is very important to me. In reading the plan and also the public hearing that occurred with the steering committee, there's some comments that were pretty common that you heard people wanting in the town here. The town seems to want be pedestrian friendly, more sidewalks, more bike paths seem to be an important thing. The climate change is causing storms to be more intense. People could be concerned about flooding, erosion, stormwater concerns seem to be a pretty good topic around here. Affordable housing is another one. Building climate smart communities, those are with more solar farms and recycling, composting. That was all not only in the plan, but it was a lot of public comments in regards to that. The town, as you guys know, you guys are striving to be a sustainable community, reduce your greenhouse gas emissions. Your climate action plan, I think, is on the agenda tonight here. Your smart community, boy, those are buzzwords today. Everybody likes saying those words. It seems like every business, every community is talking about those things. And you feel good when you say them, you almost feel good about it. And in a sustainable community, I think you're supposed to be environmentally friendly and conserve your natural resources to support your well-being of the people here. And part of it is clean water. Water seems to obviously be a hot topic here, with water. Aqua is one of our biggest customers. We sell them a lot of stone. It's important. They brought water to 2 houses on Dugan Road. That little bit, 30 loads of stone to get water to 2 houses on Dugan Road. With their erosion control that I mentioned, we just did a project. I'm sure William.
Oh, yeah, I think for the public hearing, John, we should allow people to,
Go a little long, I'll do 5 minutes.
yeah,
Okay,
please.
continue.
You've got such a prepared
So,
response, yeah.
the erosion control, we just, Limestone Creek just did a big project there to keep the sewer pipe from exploding into Limestone Creek. And like you said, it seems like stormwater control is another one. Again, all these things require crushed stone. The electricity, your solar panels, there's not a solar farm or a wind farm that doesn't require crushed stone to be used in it. You're part of being a sustainable community. You're supposed to be resilient to natural disasters that are increasing in intensity because of the climate change. Around here,
what do we have floods, right? What happens when a road floods or bridge gets taken out? First call is to the quarry, you know, we gotta rebuild this road. We have windstorms, last major one I remember was storm in '98. Some of you guys are old enough to remember all that. Time is out, first big cake, and we bring the brush up to the quarry, use it for a staging area and grind it up there, sure, no problem. You know, the snowstorms, obviously, we get snowstorms, the that storm in '93 is the last major one that I remember here that actually shut things down. Out there helping get the airport open. Town needs a place to dump their snow, the village, they're there. All those things are important in making yourself a sustainable community. And we think we play a big part in that. You're reducing your gas house emissions. You guys found it in your studies that your greenhouse gas emissions, a big emitter is transportation and your diesel trucks, right? And every person in this town, whether they know it or not, consumes 12 tons of crushed stone a year. Passively, when you flush your toilet, when you turn on your water, when you drive down the road, when you drop your kids at school, you're consuming crushed stone. So based on that, with the town residents, that's 19,800 truckloads of stone the community uses. And if the town really wants to meet those goals and reduce the greenhouse gas emissions and things like that, having a local source of crushed stones imperative. Almost half of these goals, when you look in the back of your plan here, your comprehensive plan, almost half of those goals that you guys are looking to do is requiring crushed stone. We think is very important to meet those goals. If the town's opposed to a quarry, or just some people are just opposed to mining in general, which I preach this sometimes. Everything in this room, everything in your house, everything in your car, it's either been grown or mined. Everything in this phone, everything in that computer came out of a mine. We still live off the land, but we do it in different ways, and you need to know that we do need mining to have the amenities that we have in life. But if the town feels that, there's other places to do this activity, which are some comments that I've heard, then we'll move on. And the next time that the community group gets together and they're trying to build a turf field or something like that, I'm gonna let them know there's other places to get $100,000. When the YMCA wants to come to town for the benefit of the community, I'm gonna let them know there's other places to get $50,000. And the Eagle Scout, when they call, they got their projects going, I'm gonna let them know there's other places to get that. I can go on and on with that, but I would love to take that 250 acres of land I've got. I'd love to move to North Carolina with it or something like that, like the rest of the businesses did around here. We don't have that option. All the businesses that are coming here are businesses that we're paying to come here, and that needs to change. So obviously, like I said, we can't do that. Instead, I hope as you guys as community planners can realize and see the importance of having a local source of crushed stone. And I also hope that you can also see overall our 55 years that we've been operating there, we really have got good neighbors and we really don't have much trouble there. We very much want to stay part of this community. But if it's time to move on, we're big, we'll move on. I hope that's not the case. I hope you guys consider it. And I want to thank you for the time and the extra time, especially.
Thank you very much for the comment.
If you could. If you could submit a written copy to Allison, it would all get in the record that with you.
Oh, well, there only knows I stand. Sure.
Anyone else in the second row who'd like to make a comment for the comprehensive plan? Okay, third row,
Am I?
come on up.
My name is Alan Birnbaum. I live in Changing Seasons outside of Fairfield. I really just came to see how these meetings operate, and I really wasn't prepared to speak at anything. But my house abuts the quarry. I'm not on the neighborhood committee that works to try and define what our relationship is with Mr. Kinsella. I would simply suggest, again, I really was not prepared to speak until I heard Mr. Kinsella, who actually is a lovely gentleman, but who's proper, as I said, my property abuts the quarry. There is some history here that I don't know whether the town board's aware of it, that in the past, there have been a couple of times when courts have suggested that his expansion was not appropriate. In the last agreement that we made with him, the contract, and again, I don't have the documents, suggests that he said that this was the last time he was going to expand. We can talk about the ecological effects, and he suggests some very, very impressive effects of his profession and his work. And indeed, they are necessary, and his reputation is good. There are some issues about ecology and particulate matter that he did not discuss. I assume this is going to be an ongoing discussion, that you're not going to make a decision tonight.
Well, so no, just to make it clear, the intent tonight is to hold this open until our July 12th meeting. And what we're gonna be doing,
Mr. Berman may be speaking about the quarry issues that
quarry.
themselves, not the comprehensive plan.
yeah, the quarry issue, we don't have we don't have anything on the agenda or upcoming agenda
Okay.
about that. This is strictly about the portion of the comprehensive plan, what he was referring to, that talks about
Okay, well,
quarries.
He's got, he made a very impressive speech. But for those of us, I just want to recognize that there is going to be some discussion in our community about this. That'll be presented by somebody much more eloquent as a public speaker than I am. Again, he doesn't remember. We've met several times and I know that Kinsella. So I just want to let you know that there is going to be some opposition to the expansion.
Mhm.
And then
Thank you. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much. Okay, do we have anyone else here who would like to make a comment? Oh. Okay.
It's almost embarrassing, Mr. Bergdahl, that I'm head of the committee that you haven't met with. And so I'd like to inform both the board as well as Mr. Bergdahl about some of what's going on. I hadn't intended to speak today. I didn't know that it took 12 tons of crushed stone to get my orange juice, but thank you. I'm sure it does. No, I want to say in all sincerity that Tom and I have been corresponding and communicating with each other over the last month past. And while this is no promise of anything, there has been conversation that's been going on, that there has been certainly reservations continually expressed, and certainly some openness to see what considerations can be made. At the end of the day, this is still a continuing process. I want to inform the board that in good faith, and certainly I want to thank Tom for the good faith that he has expressed in having the conversation with us. Certainly you're aware of the history of our previous conversations and the opposition that was voiced because of the 2004 agreement that certainly we understood as being definitive at its time. We certainly aren't speaking to the additional properties that Mr. Kinsella is contemplating pouring, and we know that that has some implications for our own patch as to whether or not that gets developed. So we're concerned with that as well.
albeit we don't have a statement to make about what that is. So just to let you know, it's ongoing, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
I'm
Just-
I will say, I'm very happy to hear that there's a productive conversation happening. It's, I know I met with both of you independently together, and I'm just happy to know that there's productive conversation happening. I want to thank you both for that.
Can we just clarify for the people that are sitting here that don't know the background, that we're talking about what the two things are that we're talking about?
So, as of right now, Ms. Kinsella has a quarry, that is existing, and there is, a hope to expand that within, certain bounds of that property. And then, Mr. Kinsella does have another proposal for a larger, new quarry down the road. So there are two active, new potential quarry sites or quarry areas. And so I know the neighbors between Changing Seasons and Tom are having conversations, so we're happy to get updates on how that conversation is going, if we can be helpful in any way. And I know there's the much larger project down the road is.
But I think so those are both things that are happening, but they are not the comprehensive plan.
Yeah.
So the comprehensive plan does have a section about quarrying and did a study group about quarrying that was not only Mr. Kinsella, but any quarry or anybody who wants to do that kind of thing in the town of Manlius. So the comprehensive plan is purposely written a little bit more vaguely than would be the actions regarding these specific
Yeah.
applications.
That's why, Mr. Kinsella, I do think it's important to have your remarks from today, particularly with the statistics that you cited, because they're relevant to the
Anybody.
comments for the comprehensive plan. So that's why I wanted to reiterate what Sarah said
I believe most of that was covered. I sent a
in your letter
Yeah.
before.
to the steering committee with a lot of those.
Okay, good.
I'll double check, make sure my.
I can check too.
So now,
Thank you.
Mr. Kelly.
Trying to avoid being in front of the camera.
So Tim
Unavoidable.
Kelly, Homewood Drive in Fayetteville. Just had a statement and then I have a quick question, if you guys don't mind. Regarding actually echoing what Ms. Henry said earlier. The amount of work that went into the comprehensive plan has been very extensive by a number of different parties, and it would be great if more members of the community had participated in it. So I just wanted to state that. It's great getting people's feedback and, the turnout and the amount that we've received in this process has been lackluster at best. But one question I do have is that in 2020, this was estimated to take about 19 months. And $150,000 was budgeted for this process. To date, now, obviously, we've gone well beyond that 19-month process and it needed to. Are you able to say how much has been spent on the comprehensive plan process?
I will tell you that I cannot tell you that today, but that I will be able to report that. We're getting another
Okay.
invoice in July and we will be able to then maybe send it.
That answers my question.
And we'll also be able to detail the grant funding that's included there.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else here to make a comment on the comprehensive plan?
My name is Dave Arnold. I just had a quick question. A couple of the open house meetings that were here earlier and a couple people from the schools had come and mentioned as far as development coming, different ideas, housing, how it would affect the schools if we reached out back to them and talked about that anymore.
Yes,
Because they were worried that the numbers that were in the comprehensive plan were not really true to the decline in ratio of the students. So they were worried about, apartment complexes, low-income housing and stuff that were gonna be built, how that influx of more students would affect the school.
we had members of the school boards on the comprehensive plan committee. They each reached out to their respective superintendents and did get email responses to that. So that will be included in the final version.
Do we see it before that? I mean, what those responses?
Well, they were not, they were just basically saying, yes, we need to be involved if there's apartment buildings here in place. Are you saying like the number of students that were?
Yeah, no, I just didn't know if they thought, did they find it a concern? There was a board member and.
They want to be involved in decisions before something is authorized.
Gotcha. Okay.
And as I understood it, per their mandate, they don't make a recommendation about economic development or planning or any, or land use in that way, they have to be responsive to whatever the changes in the community. So just demographics and everything else. And so that's why, I think that's why they were emphasizing, we just want to be at the table.
Yeah, because I think they were saying that it's hard for them to get, you know, to expand schools. as
It
quick as
takes
maybe-
years, yeah, so they wanted to, yeah,
longer-
they did,
a longer process
they
than it
appreciated
would
that
be
input and said
to-
they would like to be
Yeah.
involved at the early stage.
Oh,
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, any further
Anybody
public
online?
comments? Okay, anybody online? It's the last call.
For tonight.
For tonight, yeah. Okay, so we are going to hold this public hearing open until July 12th. For anybody watching, for anybody here, please talk to your neighbors.
And we
business owners,
encourage
residents.
written comments between now and then. If people are listening to this and say, well, then nobody mentioned this, feel free to send it in. You can email it or mail it or,
Probably the best ways are that you have the town board at townofmanlius.org as a way to get to the whole board, as well as some of our town hall staff. And then we also have a public comment form on the website. That's another really great way. It's immediately taken into the system, distributed out to folks. So either way, we are looking for as many comments as possible. So if, and anybody who's made a comment tonight, if there's follow-up or anything like that, please make sure those comments are submitted. And like I said, please talk to your neighbors. If you see each other rolling with dustbins in, say, hey, did you make a comment on the public, the comprehensive plan? If not, make sure they know what it is, make sure they've got a chance to read it, because we are looking for as many of those comments as possible.
Yeah.
Great.
I have a question for Allison and you. Apparently there was a big problem with audio when the meeting first began.
It would be really helpful. You're not mic'd right now, so for the people listening that can't hear you, would you be willing to come closer?
You can hear me.
Okay, we can repeat.
But the
what you
people
said.
that are not here can't hear you.
People that are zooming missed the first portion of this hearing today or this meeting. So is it documented anywhere? Is it gonna be written or that's just lost now?
I take minutes. I take minutes at every single meeting. I don't do verbatim minutes, so that would be impossible, especially without a recording. I took more extensive notes based upon the fact that I knew that we were having audio issues. And as long as we've brought this up in this moment too, and I was gonna talk about this in my section, I would like to kind of make a plea to all of us that we go ahead and purchase 2 owls. I think maybe even replacing the current owl that we
Yeah, so
have.
we're on the now significantly older model. When we got it, it was the Cadillac, but now there is a new
Yes.
model and we are looking to bring.
And I'm saying
on
that
board.
publicly because it is an expenditure, but I do feel like there is a demand from the public to consume our meetings online and things like that. And so I just want to say that out loud because we would be spending money on that, but I do think it's very important. And I think the board agrees as well. And we've started the process of that. So
And it would be nice to put a mic at the podium too.
That's what- yes.
Well, and so I will, as we're having a conversation, just to be clear,
So I did, there was an issue with just so you know, this room is used for several things. So we've got Board of Assessment review in here. But most recently, we had the Board of Elections in here and they really need this location in order to conduct their elections. And so they disassembled this entire room and that went until 10 o'clock last night. Getting that working properly, honestly, I think there's a loose cord in there, so the audio could go at any moment. I do my very best with that.
It's happened before.
Yeah, so new equipment, I think will really help, if we, you know. That's all I have to
I
say.
guess I would second Miss Henry saying, I think there should be a microphone on the podium as well.
Sure.
And we budgeted some of that.
Yeah.
That we can purchase the equipment,
Yeah.
so we can work in.
I am so glad there's an appetite for this, because if you go to any other town, if you go to any other governmental community, they are not trying to be excellent. We are trying to be excellent. Yes. Thank you for everything you do.
That's- I believe in this, so we'll keep trying and we will do our best.
Okay. Next up, we have a presentation on the climate action plan.
Do you have my slides over there?
Sure, we're gonna pull right up on the screen.
Okay.
Typically, when people present, we have them log in themselves so they can control what Kate's gonna do that for you. It's
I
totally
also
fine.
have it on the flash drive.
That's okay, we've got them online. I wanted to know in your motions, there is a schedule change that I forgot to adjust. So the public hearing date will be on July 26th versus the 12th. So when you make that motion, just set it for that.
Yep. I'm trying to decide where I can stand and still see the screen.
Yeah.
I stand right
That's
there.
good. Yeah, that
Yeah.
works.
So work on the speaker as opposed to the camera.
Yes, okay.
There, we're pulling it up.
All right, well, as they're pulling it up, I can give a little introduction. My name is Amanda Mazzoni. I work at the Central New York Regional Planning and Development Board. We were selected by the town to work with them on the climate action plan, which is a separate yet corresponding process to the comprehensive plan. So we did work with the comprehensive planning committee at various different times to try to integrate the goals that they were working on and that we were working on. But this is a plan that is a lot more focused on climate action. So ways that the town can reduce emissions, both at the municipal level and from the larger community. So again, just quickly for those who are not familiar with the Regional Planning Board, we are a public agency that was founded in 1966. We serve the development needs of our 5 county members, which include Cayuga, Portland, Madison, Onondaga, and Oswego counties. We work with all the municipalities within those counties in a variety of different program areas related to development. We'll go to the next slide. I'm at the next slide.
Halfway through it.
So I work in our energy management program, but we do have staff that works with communities on comprehensive planning and community development, as well as these other areas. We also incorporate or in-house the Syracuse Metropolitan Transportation Council, who works with municipalities in our region on transportation planning. Next slide, please. Amanda, would it be helpful if you want to put that up there and then, yeah. Be great. Thank
Nope,
you.
you're gonna take that with you. You can take it wherever you.
Oh, over here. Okay. I don't know. Is this better?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. But I'm here today to talk about the town's climate action plan. I wanted to start with just a quick introduction to the state's Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act. This is kind of the framework that we are working in the state now. The state obviously has a lot of these really aggressive climate and renewable energy efficiency goals. So 40% reduction of emissions by 2030 and an 85% reduction of emissions by 2050 with a goal of being carbon neutral. So you'll see some of those similarities in the town's climate action plan. The draft has been released. It's been out for a while now, at least an initial draft that we received some feedback on, and now we have a final draft up on the town's website now. But so if you take a look, and I'll talk a little bit more about that, but there you'll see some similar goals that the town committee has set. And really the idea here is that by coming up with this climate action plan and kind of mirroring or trying to fold in these state goals into the local town plan, you are setting your town up for success. The state's going to come out with mandates, they're going to come out with incentives. And by having a plan like this, it will help provide the framework that the town can follow to make sure that you're able to take advantage of those incentives and be ahead of those mandates, so that it won't be, hopefully it won't be a burden on the community. So with that, aside from what I just explained, why would the town pursue a climate action plan? It provides community-specific goals, so taking that state framework, but bringing it down to the community level, to try to reduce emissions, reduce energy use, and therefore energy costs, encourage economic development by supporting these clean energy and efficiency and, you know, green businesses in the community. Improving public health and safety. So obviously reducing emissions also often corresponds with reducing pollution in the air, which can help improve public health. The climate action plans provide information, support, and a framework for sustainability efforts moving forward. A lot of communities, you know, people are supportive of sustainability. They want to mitigate climate change, but they just don't know where to start. So this is one way that you can kind of go to the climate action plan, look at the list of strategies at the end, look at the priority actions that they'll show in a moment. And get a sense for where you can start and where you can move in the future. So a quick summary of the project timeline. In the summer of 2021, I assisted the town in writing a grant application through the Climate Smart Communities program to help fund this project, as well as an expanded effort of the comprehensive plan that was awarded in December of 2021. We got under contract with DEC for that grant in the summer of 2022 and formed a climate action planning subcommittee at that point. It's a subcommittee of the larger Sustainable Manlius Committee. And so we met monthly, the committee and myself and one of my colleagues at my office between August and June to discuss all of the topic areas you'll see in the climate action plan, go through all of the mitigation strategies that you'll see in the plan, and come up with a target emissions reduction for the community. All of this was throughout all of this process, we wanted to align with the comprehensive plan that like I mentioned before, and also engage the public as much as we can. So I'll explain more about that momentarily. So key contributors, the subcommittee is on the left here. There's myself and a couple of my colleagues in the office were actively working on drafting the plan. And then we did have a couple of meetings and previous presentation to the town board and some conversations with various town officials that helped put this plan together. So it really was a big group effort in that sense. So in terms of public engagement, it was really important for the committee to feel like the community was being heard. And it was, you know, wanted to get their input and feedback so that we could have as much community buy-in as possible to make this a successful plan. So we created a public outreach and engagement strategy at the beginning. It was finalized in October. And with that, we decided to hold a public outreach survey, which was available from October through February. The survey was meant to gather information on how people in the community felt about climate change, what actions they were already taking, what might they be willing to take, get some general input into just kind of starting the discussion of the climate action strategies and just the climate action plan in general. We held monthly updates at the Sustainable Manlius meetings to let folks know where we were in the process. I presented a first draft of the climate action plan at a previous board meeting in March. And then we did have a round of requests for public feedback on the initial draft climate action plan from April through the beginning of June. With that, we had a public feedback survey online. We attended the Earth Fest event, had a table there, got some feedback in person there, distributed flyers. We had our own open house event in this room and gathered some additional input at that meeting. And all of this information, the public outreach survey, the draft climate action plan, was really well distributed through flyers, you know, people posting to their social media pages, to Nextdoor. We had 2 separate articles in the Eagle Bulletin about the efforts. You know, we went to the open house, or we had the open house, we went to Earth Fest, so we really tried to get the word out there as much as we can. So we did have you know, a good amount of public input through both the survey and the feedback that was really incorporated into the plan. In fact, after we got all of the public feedback on the initial draft compiled, we met as a subcommittee, we talked about everything that we got as feedback and what to incorporate into the plan, how we could take people's suggestions. I'm here tonight to present the draft plan, and the public hearing date on here is incorrect. It has been revised to the 26th. Sorry, I didn't catch that in my revisions, but the whole process really starts with the greenhouse gas inventories. I'm not going to go into the details about the methods behind the inventory tonight. There's 2 different reports you can read that go into those details, and we have presented on those in the past as well. But the municipal emissions, you can see the largest emitting sector for municipal operations is the vehicle fleet sector. And we forecasted the emissions through 2030 without really changing anything, a business as usual scenario, but incorporating the state's targets for cleaning the electric grid, as well as the federal fuel economy standards for vehicles. So that's kind of why you see this decrease even without changing anything about your fleet or your buildings that you wouldn't already have been doing. So the good news is the forecast by 2030 is already about a 20% emissions reduction. So that's kind of a good thing to keep in mind for when you see the target emissions reduction. You know, it may seem like it's going to be a crazy hard thing to do, but really we're kind of halfway there in a lot of big business. For the community, it's the same. Transportation is the largest emitting sector. Again, incorporating both the cleaning of the electric grid and New York State, as well as fuel economy standards for vehicles, and as well as energy use trends from the state energy report. We are forecasting about an 18% reduction from the community as a whole by 2030. So that's a good thing to keep in mind, but that's where we're starting the discussions, was looking at the climate, the greenhouse gas inventory, thinking about what our target emissions reductions would be, and thinking about what strategies make sense in the town, given which sectors are the largest emitting sectors.
You just interview Craig and Ellen. I'm so glad you're connecting. Could you connect in the hallway, please? Or wait until after Amanda's done? Thank you.
So the town's emissions reduction goals that we have drafted in the climate action plan are similar, you'll see, to the state goals, but with a little bit of a tweak. So for the short-term goals, the municipal operations reduction goal is to reduce emissions 30% by 2030. And for the community, it's 40% by 2030. That's the same as the statewide goal. The reason why we went to a 30% goal for the town instead is because we wanted to be realistic about the vehicle fleet being the town's largest emitting sector, and the fact that most of the vehicles are either heavy duty or police vehicles that don't currently have great options or affordable options for low emissions or no emissions vehicles. However, we know that the market is changing. The first pursuit rated EV is going to be released next year. So, you know, we expect that it will be more of a end loaded instead of a front loaded reduction for the municipal operations. So we made that change. And then the long-term goal for both municipal operations and the community is to become net zero no later than 2050. So that does include carbon sequestration, just like the state's plan did. So there are many emissions reduction strategies within the plan, you'll see. They fall within these focus areas of land use and transportation, the built environment, renewable energy, waste and recycling, and green space, agriculture, and other. So if you want to read through all of those actions, not only are they listed, but there's a lot of details about how they can be implemented. If there are funding sources available related to those actions, who in the community might be a partner to help implement those actions. So
the committee really wanted to be inclusive of a lot of actions, to kind of leave it open to, you know, be able to see where both technology takes us, but also just the community landscape is going to go. So if you read the actions in the plan, they're not all things that the town will definitely do, but they're things the town can consider to help meet the goals that we're setting. And given the fact that there are so many actions in the emissions reduction strategy section, the committee decided to come up with a priority actions list. And so this list was created with a number of factors included, such as input from the community survey, input from the committee, looking at how these reduction strategies would relate to the greenhouse gases in the community specifically, and being the biggest bang for your buck. So not trying to do the most expensive things necessarily that would reduce emissions, but things that could be completed with a lower cost to emissions reduction ratio is what the goal was. So all of those things were taken into consideration when we prepared this priority actions list, and this is kind of like a starting place if you want to take a quick look at the plan. This is the chart that you should kind of look at. All of these actions are highlighted in green in the strategy tables at the end. So you can get more detail about each of them there as well.
Amanda, for the record, just because it's hard for people to see, and then also so it's like in the, do you mind reading those three out since there are only three of them right now? In the Venn diagrams.
Yeah, sure. So we have some of these priority actions would impact municipal operation emissions. Some would impact community emissions and some would impact both.
Great.
Okay, so next steps on the climate action plan, we'll be having the public hearing, as I mentioned.
No.
I just wanted to pause in case there was a.
Thank you.
Sorry.
These were inherited from Camillus, right?
Yes, these are secondhand shares. We're already trying to meet our sustainability.
There you go.
Okay, so the public hearing will be on the 26th. So if you want to take a look at the plan, if you haven't already, it's on the Sustainable Manlius website. The link to the current draft. This is the current draft that takes into consideration the feedback that we received. So there were a few updates. Then, of course, adoption of the plan is hopefully the end goal, and then promoting and project development and plan implementation. And so those tables at the end are meant to guide the town, but also, of course, the Regional Planning Board is available to assist the town in implementations. And most of those actions are related to what my program supports. So we are available as a resource as well. And just before I let any other questions happen, I just wanted to point out all the pictures that you've seen are from the town's past or current sustainability initiative. So we have the Earth Fest event from 2022 is on this screen, the charging stations, we have the public comment. These are the sticky notes that we had at the open house and the Earth Fest event. This is a picture from the actual open house event. I think that's it until the end. I just wanted to point that out, that there's a lot going on in the community. The town is a climate smart, a certified bronze community. There's two pictures from that. And then from the Earth Fest from this year, our table there. So the first certified bronze climate smart community in Onondaga County. That is
Okay, whatever caveats you've got to put on it, number one.
That is true. So you're doing a lot of great work. This is just a method of continuing it in a, somewhat structured way, that there's a lot of things to, Sustainable Manlius Committee is thinking, what are we gonna do next? There's a lot of things they can look at. Same with the town board. It's a lot of directive or suggestions, I should say, for the town board to consider in the future. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. I don't know, how you work it here, open it to anyone or?
This is not the public hearing. That will be the 20th.
Okay, so just from the town board, or no, is that accurate? Okay.
Thank you so much for
Okay,
everything
thank
you do,
you.
Amanda. You, are amazing to work with and the most detail oriented and friendly and capable colleague that I've met in a while. Thank you.
So I don't have a question, but one thing I will say is, I know when you had reached out originally and we were like, let's sit down and talk climate action plan. It was pretty grim looking at the numbers for the fleet. And I mean, I think we can all agree at budget after budget, the vehicles are a major part of what happens in town operations. And I think when I sat down for that meeting, I kind of walked away a little like, oh, okay, well, we're gonna give it our best shot, but there's not a lot of hope. But I think that's why when I talk to residents about, when they look at something that says sustainability, what does that mean? And when I think a lot of this board got involved, we said the same thing and we didn't have much to say, we had some ideas of what could be accomplished. What I think is great about this plan, especially with the priority, the way that you have that in that pretty easy to digest diagram is, as we know, engaging the public, getting people to care about what's going on at the municipal level, how they can be a part of their community. This is something that, that Venn diagram is gonna get shared, it's gonna be posted, people are gonna see it, they're gonna see it often, and they're gonna go to it and go, actually, there is something on there that I can do as part of my community, or I can talk to my neighbors about, or I can advocate to my town board to do those things. So I think by breaking this down and making it digestible is, in my opinion, if all we got was that Venn diagram out of this whole endeavor, I would still be pretty pleased, because I think so much of what happens within town operation is hard to understand. I know I'm still learning a whole bunch about it every day. And so to be able to see that, it's easy to digest, it's easy to share with people. I think, kind of takes us from that buzzword status to, no, these are just how we engage with our community. This is how we write our budget. It's all of those practical things that we all know how we do, but now we've got a sense of, okay, this is actually a small part to that zero emissions by 2050. So I just want to say thank you again, because it's been a lot of learning. And I think this plan, I think, is one of the best forms of communication we have with the public to say, what does a sustainable community look like? What does a green community look like? And this is how we get there. So just thank you very much for that.
I'd like to. No, actually, I was just gonna say, and it saves money.
Yeah, it's probably the best part.
I'd like to thank also, in addition to working with Amanda, the committee, the climate action planning subcommittee, like we met very consistently, and everyone was maybe not terribly responsive to initial responses to the doodle poll, but ultimately with much follow-up from Amanda, we would get the next meeting on the calendar. So I just want to thank Ingrid, Cookie, Alice, Craig, Brad, and Pete, and their names are mentioned with their last names in the slide. So if you're watching or if you see the recording, thank you for all of your input and for coming and joining those meetings, because they gave great feedback, and I think that they really pushed us to include things and think about things that we hadn't done before, or that we weren't really thinking about. And it was also really awesome to see with the survey that we did, all of the people in the community who responded. How many people replied to that first survey?
It was over 400. I think it was 412.
Yeah, which was, well, of course, we would have loved to have 35,000 people reply. And we did everything we could think of, shy of knocking on every door in the town of Manlius to get those responses.
And it is pretty typical response rate for this kind of thing. So, it wasn't like I was thinking, oh man, this is like way lower than usual. It's like kind of what you get, unfortunately. No matter how hard to try.
It is hard to get engagement from the public. I think one of the things that I really appreciated that we did, for those of you who weren't as involved, was that we really tried to get feedback from people who wake up every day, and climate change is the first thing that they think about. But really, we wanted to hear from the people who that is not the case, because a lot of those people already know all of this stuff. So we wanted to hear from people about the things that matter to them, the things that they have done and were willing to do. So we had a lot of people engage with us and talk to us who don't believe in climate change, who don't prioritize climate change, and getting
getting the chance to have those conversations and to hear from those folks was really important too. So I appreciated that the committee prioritized making that effort. So thank you to everyone. Sarah joined many of our meetings, and Heather joined a couple of our meetings. So thank you for all of those who came in for helping, and particularly to our committee members. And Amanda, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. So we'll see you again on the 26th.
Yeah, so we'll make the motion to schedule the public hearing.
Yeah.
So I'd like to make a motion to set a date for the public hearing, and that will be July 26th. At what time, Allison?
6:35.
6:35, to consider adopting the draft climate action plan for the town of Manlius as presented.
I'm looking to Elaine for a second.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Allison? Is this, the presentation on the plan, is it only gonna be available on the agenda, or is it available somewhere else on the website, to your knowledge?
So it's on the single Manlius website page, and then we can also get that on the homepage as well.
Oh,
And I know that we had a copy printed at town hall of the first draft. Did we print out a copy of the revised draft?
Yes, we've been retaining a copy here. No one's gonna look at it, but yeah, but we do have a paper copy if anyone needs it.
Okay, so there's also a copy of town hall, and folks would like to read it physically.
okay. So next up, Skyridge Water District Improvement Project, ratify set date for public hearing and Skyridge Water District Extension number 1, Clear Path for Veterans. So this is a continuation of the conversation we had last time around. Where the goal here tonight is we have that plan and report that was presented to us last time. We've got, we want to kind of go back to the process, set the public hearing date for July 12th at 6:35 p.m. For the Skyridge Water District Improvement Project, as well as the extension, the Skyridge Water District Extension number 1. That's the one parcel that's adjacent to the current Skyridge Water District. I know we've had a lot of conversations with other stakeholders, with board members, with residents. We are working diligently to set up a neighborhood meeting with the Skyridge residents to make sure that they are all well aware of the options that are on the table, what limitations, what deadlines are quickly approaching, so that we can make sure that everybody there that is eventually only responsible for any of the bond, any of the construction, to make sure they have all the information as possible. I know I've been talking with Aaron Trojan and some other residents there. And we are trying to set that up and make sure we've got a representative from each of the 29 communities present there. I know we've had some conversations. I know our legal team and town hall staff have been working diligently to work back and forth with folks at BNL, at Aqua, with Town of Sullivan, trying to get a good handle on exactly what the situation is as it stands. And so, we are making sure that the financing plan makes sense, that we've got, everything that we are hoping and planning on is there. And again, just to underline this, the goal here is to take advantage of the WIA, which is the Water Infrastructure Improvement Act money. That covers a pretty significant portion of projects like this. The main focus is to get this project in a position where it can be submitted for the WIA grant. It sounds like we're gonna get an answer on that much later in the year. And the truth is, this project doesn't happen without that WIA grant, so it is up to whether or not we get that WIA money. And even after, if we do receive an award for that grant, there's quite a bit of funding that we'd be working with, not only Aqua, but Town of Sullivan, Madison County, Onondaga County, and Clear Path to raise that funding so that we can get the per EDU cost as low as possible for the residents. Because the water system out there is in dire need of attention. And as costs of construction increase, we do expect this project to become unobtainable at some point, just given that cost. And so that's why, we're trying to get this, like I said, ready for that July 28th deadline for the application to WIA. And so I guess, Sarah, do you
So,
think
yeah, the only thing I would would add is the legal process and the legal process for the existing water district and the additional of the extension number 1 are slightly different, and that's why there are 2 separate hearings, even though they're about the same thing at the same time. So I just wanted to, if people are saying, why are you doing this twice? That's why. One is one section of law and the other is a different section.
And this is in tandem with similar things that are
Yes,
happening in the town.
And Thomas Sullivan is doing the same thing. Their meeting happens to be July 5th, and they will do it for the 3rd section of this process that would be in Thomas Sullivan.
How does it work to have sort of tandem meetings or tandem hearings like that? So if somebody makes a comment, is it like entered into the second hearing, or how does it work?
We would just open the public hearing for the first, for the 202B, let's call it, because that's the section of law for the existing Sky Ridge Water District.
Mhm.
We would open the public hearing for that. People would comment on that during that public hearing. If there are no more comments, you'll close that public hearing, and then you'll open up the extension number 1, which would be a public hearing for that specific extension. So you're extending Sky Ridge to 1 property to the east. And if anybody has any specific comment about that extension, then speak at that public hearing.
Okay,
And we have,
thank you.
had extensive cooperation, with Aqua, all the other agencies here. So this is a lot of moving pieces, but again, it's a big project. It's a big, very difficult to do project. It's getting more expensive every day. And, you know, like you say, Councilor Waters, you know, how do we do this when there's multiple things happening in different municipalities? And a lot of communication. It's been a very difficult process, but we've had great partners through this. And again, the goal here is to get to a point where we put an application in the mail and wait 5 months to see if we get that award. And if we don't get that award, this just simply doesn't move forward. So,
So if we don't get the award though, we still have a water district that needs. So
yes, and so part of the plan for that public meeting with the residents is I'm gonna outline kind of the multiple options, which are as in the plan. Option 1, which is an in-kind replacement, option 2, which is this project that we're currently discussing. And option 3 isn't technically there, but doing nothing is there, but I think it's important to remember that this project will be expensive to the residents. In-kind replacement could potentially be even more expensive because they'll be losing potential partners in both Clear Path, Town of Sullivan and Madison County.
So that's where I understand, like, it's looking at the larger amount, which is a substantial amount. But because we're partnering, with Clear Path, we can potentially get more grants to bring that cost down, and hopefully bring it down as much as we possibly.
Yeah, that's the goal, where it's not like we're gonna hit a number and go, okay, we're done. Well, we might start the project where we're gonna continue to look for that funding.
So I guess the question too, is, especially for July 1, is what is the number of, okay, if we're gonna go out and get this much grant, what is that number? Okay, so we're gonna bond for $2 million, or what is that?
Well,
So I would say we will not know that on July 12th, but we will know that before we actually execute anything.
Before we execute a bond.
And we've asked,
There is an assumption of grants in the map plan and report. So there's a $5 million WIA grant assumption. There is a $4 million other grant assumption, which those grants have not been identified yet. Some of them have. There is an assumption of a grant from the New York State Assembly through Assemblyman Sturpey's office for $2 million. And then there is an assumption of an $800,000 grant from Onondaga County.
and there's also Assemblyman Sturpey said that the REDC money. That he wanted to get clarification about REDC money that Clear Path had already received and was still eligible for.
Yeah, okay, but that's not
Those are
in the
additions.
assumptions
That's not in
that,
here.
that are in the map plan and report.
Yeah.
It could be part of the $4 million unspecified grant.
Right,
But there's 4 million in unspecified grants. Did I got the number right?
Yeah.
Around
just about, yeah.
So with all that though, there's still $2 million left.
Yeah, I went to law school, so my math is bad, but. Five,
So right now,
four,
Give or take.
what we're, the kind of outline EDU cost is just about $2,600 per EDU. And that's assuming all of the anticipated grant funding comes through. There is also, because I think it's important to remind everybody, this is moving fresh, clean water to places that are leveraging wells. So not only does it serve the residents who need this water, but it serves economic development interests with ClearPath. ClearPath has a plan to expand, and as they expand, they will incur more of the units per the
So
district,
that's my.
which over time will lower that cost. And then potentially in the future, if any other areas around this pipe are interested in accessing the water, they would also be buying in and taking some of that burden off
They
them
would have to
potentially.
enter into the water district.
Yeah, there would be a whole nother process, just like this. with
And
water
then
distribution.
the cost per person is directly.
And all that will be codified
Yes.
in an intermunicipal agreement with the town of Sullivan, whereby we will come to an agreement as to how those new units that are being brought online, if they are brought online, will reduce the cost to the existing EDUs. That has not been
Yeah.
figured out yet. It does not have to be figured out yet tonight. We just need to have what we understand to be the maximum cost. Assuming grants. So,
But this works better if they expand.
yeah, the more.
Well,
units-
that's the reason they're at the table, is because with their current water supply, they cannot do the things that they would like. And,
Well, I've been to ClearPath several times and their current capacity, there's things they currently can't do that they normally do.
I mean, currently, I think they all, any drinking water, bottled water there.
So with their plans to expand, do we have an estimate of what their usage will be or could be?
We have some rough estimates. It could be as many as 6 additional EDUs, which when you consider how small the district is, but that's something that as part of that community meeting, I'll be reaching out to ClearPath to get a better understanding of what their long-term strategy is and the number of EDUs it gets to.
Okay.
Because again, like this is kind of an ongoing work. There's a lot of folks
And
involved.
it's overtime, so they wouldn't be up to 6 EDUs for a number of years.
Yeah, it would take some time to get that development.
That's my concern, that the 29 residents really take on the burden.
They do,
Yeah.
I mean, it's up to them.
And I will say too, with this community meeting, the goal is to get as much information as possible and then get their opinions. Because at the end of the day, this is the water district's bond. The town of Manlius will have the bond, obviously, but this is a project for this water district. At the end of the day, those parcels are gonna be the ones responsible for paying down that debt service.
So I understand that too, but then I really see the value for Aqua to have this pipe. So I just don't understand why they're not to give more and
So,
providing more.
They have funded BNL to do all of this work that we know is very expensive. They've retained a consultant to kind of help lead the whole project along. They've been kind of a guiding force throughout all of this, and we are continuing as before this mutual MOU is in place. Our goal is to have as much of those commitments from the other agencies codified in that MOU. We just had a meeting with the consultant today. We've got some good ideas. We've got some more conversations to have, but our goal is to make sure that that MOU that is part of that package will include commitments from all the stakeholders so that we've got it in an agreement as to what expectations are for everybody.
Like my ideal solution would be the Aqua applies, but you know, they're having them do this is a lot less. It just makes more sense for them to do it versus the town that is doing it. So I'm very concerned, but I'm learning more, and I know we're just kind of looking into this, and then I guess I'm looking into the WIA grant.
Yeah.
And looking at like the qualification. And it seems like because we're looking to partner with another municipality, that's how we could potentially qualify for that kind of thing. Like, so I didn't understand because in the map plan report, the WIA grant is also listed as part 1. And I don't see how that would qualify.
Oh, for option 1?
Yeah.
So that would basically, assuming that the neighbors go, we need water, move forward with this, and then we don't get the WIA grant application, we would more than likely start developing the WIA grant application for whatever.
But I think
other
what
option.
Elaine's saying, that for the options, we wouldn't get the Sky Ridge existing 29 units would not necessarily get the points to ever get a vehicle.
Yeah, it's,
Just like, yeah.
Because they don't meet all the yellow.
Yeah.
grids.
Something like it wouldn't do it, It was confusing, it said something about not water for residents and commercial, it was very confusing, like, what does
Yeah.
that qualify for?
Yeah, and I mean, it's pretty safe to say that the application that we're hoping to get out by the 28th will be in a better position for an award rather than an in-kind replacement or some other type, because this is, I mean, there are a lot of benefits. Aqua realizes benefits, Town of Sullivan realizes benefits. And I think Sarah and I can say, after last meeting, we really took to heart a lot of the questions that were there. And this general sense of, wow, the town of Manlius seems to be taking a lot of the responsibility on. And that's where we've been working diligently to bring the stakeholders in. I mean, we went as far as having a conversation with the tax receiver to make sure that if someone says, I'm not paying my water.
Yeah, like, what does that mean?
We're making sure that all of those pieces, we're reducing as much of the kind of unknowns as possible.
Okay.
And like I said, the kind of underlining that MOU is gonna make it clear, all of these parties understand that they need to be involved. Town of Manlius might be the agency that takes on the bond, but it's not like we are expecting Skyridge residents to pay it out of however many $1 million.
Okay, because that's my question too, like, if the sky. They refuse to pay.
Mhm.
What does that mean? We, like, the town bond.
It's the same thing as if they refuse to pay their taxes. And at the end of the
It goes
day,
on the land.
that goes to the county, because the county,
Okay.
when we have shortfalls, they make
They
a
may
call.
not, all right, we're making somebody.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a fun conversation walking to the receiver's office and going, so what happens if someone doesn't want to pay part of their bill?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. I don't recommend it, is what I would say. Okay, any other questions, conversation?
No, thank you for that.
Well, I did have several questions, some of them have been cleared up. I still am very concerned about bonding for so much money, and the town of Manlius taking on so much of that.
Yeah.
Especially when we're considering bonding for other projects for us,
So-
and how that might hurt our credit rating.
We did have some advice from bond council that it would have a low, small enough impact on the overall credit rating.
Still very apprehensive. about it.
Absolutely,
So much,
absolutely.
And it's still.
Well, just- and I think
various
that's where-
residents, if they're concerned for it as well,
Yeah.
and how it's gonna affect them. My understanding is that this has been a very long and ongoing situation that has been not necessarily addressed for several years, and based off of my reading in this booklet that was given to us as we sat down at our meeting, our previous meeting the other week. I've seen in here that there were things that back in 2013, we were directed that the prior boards were told to do, but did not do. That would have prolonged the life of things.
Well, and it's also too, it's difficult to have
With residents not being on board necessarily, residents didn't want to come together and say, okay, if I do this to tide us over to get to this. So the prior boards weren't necessarily able to move forward with things because
the residents.
residents didn't want to, because no one could come together and get this, so. I do appreciate that you're saying that you're gonna spell things out in the letter saying, okay, residents sign off on this or sign off on that and understand that this is what you're saying.
Yeah.
So that they're gonna have full understanding of what their options are and what exactly it means. But I'm still very apprehensive. I still don't understand why it has to be such a long pipeline going through there. Why can't it just come from Sleepy Hollow? Why are we doing all this stuff for?
Well, that was about pumps and that was about land.
Right, I know,
Yeah.
I'm not, that's not my field, okay, I don't know. Jesus, it's explained myself last time at the meeting and it came down to gravity. Is how I took it, but it's a lot. I mean, I understand that we have to ask for, we can't go back to second bite of the apple saying we need more money. We have to ask for more.
Yeah.
What we think it's gonna be. We can always not borrow that much, but we have to borrow a lot and hope that it's enough and everything. But like I said, I've been asking a lot of questions. It's still a lot of money that essentially 29 houses are gonna be taking on.
Yeah.
Primarily for Aqua and their town for veterans is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, this is why infrastructure is crumbling all over the country.
Right, I know. And I know, but
We
it's
just have
a
to
lot,
do
and I do like that we're gonna have residents sign up on letters saying that they fully understand what options are going with.
And we'll make sure to, as much of this information is available on the website for anyone else that's interested. But our main focus is gonna be making sure those residents are very aware of what this project endeavors to do. I'm sure no one is opposed to the idea of having fresh clean water to that
Exactly.
neighborhood, but understanding that the costs are going to be significant regardless of what happens.
Let me ask a quick question of Tim about liability. If, right now, because we took on the liability for this water district a long time ago, if something happens with like a bad bacteria issue in the well or whatever, if we need to get sued, if we're ever sued by the Sky Ridge residents, could it be like a giant amount because there was death or injury or fire that would kill people or whatever else?
I wouldn't say we've taken on the liability of the water district.
I agree.
We have created a water district so that they can get water.
That's
And they
it's
can
their
pay
water
for it
district.
as, on their taxes. We are not responsible for the water or the condition of the water. Aqua is the one that really administers and provides the testing for the water. We are simply a vehicle to allow the project to take place through the credit of the town of Manlius. I don't know whether that was bonded for or not, that the
I
original.
think the
Skyway.
original developer.
The original developer must have built it, so,
He did.
so,
But basically, it's owned by the 29 households.
well. The system is, they're responsible for the upkeep of that system. We don't provide the water. We gave them a vehicle to collectively pay for the cost of that system.
And
So-
Aqua manages the.
So I would,
So what would happen then, do you think? Just projecting out if something would, how could they?
if their water went bad,
Yeah,
they'll sue everyone, like everyone does, and we'll defend ourselves and say, we aren't responsible for the condition of the water. That's a different authority that has been set up specifically to make sure people have public water.
And I think long term.
thank you.
Yeah, basically. But I think long term too, understanding that if we don't find a way to solve this problem, the residents are still gonna have it on their hands.
Yeah.
And these are 29 homes in the town of Manlius. These are all taxpaying, residents, and at the end of the day, again, we're helping them take on the bond. That's
Yeah.
really what's happening.
Can you imagine a ghost town and if that was a whole neighborhood?
Yeah.
I don't.
And if they don't have water, I
Yeah,
don't see anything else.
yeah.
Okay,
Also curious to know about, there was a third well that was there that was allowed to be closed off and just giving water to the one house. So I'd also be curious to know why and how that was allowed to happen when there was 3 wells to serve that whole entire neighborhood. And now it's just cut down to 2 wells to serve the neighborhood. Yes. So yes, just be curious to know why that was allowed and how it flowed, and if that third well was still active.
Well, if anyone
still
knows on the board,
active,
it would be Sarah.
would that still be, would the neighborhood water be okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
okay,
And
so,
also, just to be on the record, I do want to just reiterate that you are gonna be talking to the other stakeholders to
absolutely.
provide their fair share and not just have this all be on the town of Manlius.
Yeah, absolutely.
Elaine, did you have another thing?
I just had, I was wondering, because, we have, for tonight, we're just putting the public hearing.
Yes.
For the 12, for just the entrance.
For both.
Oh, for both.
So didn't we do that last time?
We are redoing it because we got revised English.
Okay,
We revised the resolution
okay,
because based on bond counsel's advice, we had to allocate a number to the extension, which was then taken away from the 202B, because there will be a capital expenditure for the extension. So that's why.
So the extension has its own price and the 202B.
Well, the extension actually has the entire 13.7 million. Yes,
Okay.
because that's part of the entire project. And the Sky Bridge 202B has $7,000 less, which was the estimated cost of the extension from Sky Bridge existing to the one parcel.
okay.
So if you break it up, that's what one parcel would cost. right?
That was an estimate. Like those numbers are all
All
estimates. They're in the map plan and report as
Yeah.
estimates.
Okay,
Once a bond, if this, just, I'll keep this in mind. If we get to the point of issuing a bond, we're not there yet.
Which we wouldn't.
We will not be there in 2 weeks.
Mhm.
We will be there sometime in the future, maybe.
Like, we would
Once
use-
we get to that point, then all these numbers will be much more solidified and understood. Ken, am I
Yeah, that's all accurate, just, again, that $7,000 is cost of bringing a larger diameter surface to the front property line of Fairfax.
Okay.
Without,
Not like an 8.
you know, not a typical 3/4 inch copper service of a house. They have a campus with growth,
Mhm.
the larger service is $7,000 off the project, which is coming right past their frontage on Ball Bank Road.
Thank you.
Okay, and then for the 12th, we'll have a public hearing.
Yes.
And then we have the map, just report. What else will we, what else will we, I know we've asked other questions.
We would have an updated, I would assume, table with the numbers being updated, right? Or we
Yeah,
could get
so
that.
there's been, so relative to the report that was handed out just before the last meeting, there's been comments from the board and some of the stakeholders. So there are comments that need to be addressed on that.
And I think,
Those will be done and probably put on in the version online.
Mhm.
We are also preparing a separate map plan report for extension number 1.
Okay.
There are some remaining details in there. To answer your question on what are the projected water use of Fairfax. We don't have that yet. I don't think it's clear to them. So, and then in terms of the plan of finance and all that, those details have to be worked out. That map plan report will be made available to the, will be given to the town board and made available online in advance of that public hearing. For people.
Well in advance, right?
Well, we actually do have a map plan, but it's just not, it's not completely up to date
That's my concern.
for the extension.
Is that we have to accept the map planner report, which we have, but it's not fully
Right.
updated.
Because there may be some,
Okay, so amendments could be
yes,
added
there
in.
might, and we will have all of that information available before the public hearing. So when the public gets to speak on this
Yeah, they need.
and ask their
They
question,
need
they
that
will see the updated final plan. It's not going to be much different
Yeah,
in terms of numbers than what we have.
Yeah, I guess
today.
that's the same. Okay.
But it's gonna be provided well in advance, right? Not like 5 minutes before we
Yeah.
sit down at the table, like
Nobody
days
can-
in advance.
If I am provided the information that I've requested of stakeholders, absolutely. But I can't finish a report without data.
Oh, that's all the other data
So
before.
we'll be able to hear from residents as well. But we still have another meeting before we do it.
No, so what could happen at the next meeting would be, we'd hold a public hearing, we listen to the comments from the public, like, they tell us their concerns, what they like, what they don't like, close the public hearing. You would, for the extension number 1, you would make certain findings as it relates to the extension of the water district, that one parcel
Parcel.
extension. And you would make findings and you would actually approve the extension, which then has to go to the controller's office for their review. Because the EDU cost is significantly higher than what the controller's threshold is today. So the process isn't over, the process is just kind of getting kicked off. And the controller's office will review it. At that point, we can send it to, we can make it part of the WIA grant, I am told, by the end of July. And that would then really be the linchpin of everything else that may happen in the future.
So what's required in order to apply for visa is the extension.
Correct, and
Well,
at that meeting, there will also be a bond resolution, which will authorize the bonding, but will not require you to do the bonding. But you need that in order, because that's one of the pieces that the
reviewers for WIA
the
want to see.
reviewer for WIA want to see. It's just a bond authorization. It's not the issuance of the bonds, it's just the authorization.
Do we have the kind of relationship with the comptroller's office where they will get back to us?
No.
What about-
Nobody does. And it's not that.
We've got a lot of
we don't.
Okay.
Yeah, that is a long,
Well, we are so lucky to have a wonderful representative in Sherry Dozier Owens, who is the Syracuse rep for the comptroller. So
Pull her in and out.
we will pull her in.
okay. All right, we should-
Okay, so
Sherry.
any information we can have well in advance would be very much appreciated, because, oh my God.
Yes.
Like, what is it, what kind of information are you?
Well, probably the bond resolution.
Yeah.
Oh, the bond resolution, then we'll have that.
Yeah, we'll have everything. As soon as we have it, it goes out to the board for.
So we'll definitely have an update after council meets.
What?
I think I heard the fifth.
Draft MOU has been provided for comment. To all of you. As has the draft map plan report for extension.
And following the meeting we had today, I'm gonna be reaching out to their stakeholders regarding the MOU, as we were talking about making sure that it gives us the confidence that we've got strong partners. It's documented, we're gonna vote on
Well,
it,
the ultimate one is the intermunicipal agreement is legally binding.
Okay.
but we will have legally binding documents in place prior to taking on any of the bond.
Like, we get it. Bonding is a big deal,
Yeah.
right? I get it. I'm not qualified to do, I'm not Red Book certified. We have Harris Beach doing the bond council for us. They are Red Book
No, I
certified.
think.
Well, that was what we were saying.
What's that?
I think there's still time in your career to get.
No, never. There's too much
So-
exposure with bonding, trust
So
me.
I just want to read like all the terms and conditions, that's what I want, I want the terms and conditions, so I know what. Of the bond, like those, so it says, you know, if we don't get these grants, no, thank you.
That would be in the MOU.
Elaine would have made an amazing lawyer, by the way.
I'm sure she would.
Maybe Elaine could get rid of those.
A reminder too, excuse me, John, seeker is out under coordinated review. I also sent out that the 30-day comment period, I think
We're getting several of those back.
right, so those are coming in. Ultimately, the board needs to consider parts 2 and 3 of your full EAF in advance of doing any of the resolutions that, in the state.
So Allison, make sure that's on the agenda.
On for July 12th, we could do that before the public.
We do it before the public hearing.
We don't usually have to do those, right?
Is, I just don't know the answer to this right now, but I will look at it. If you don't know the answer off the top of your head, is putting in a water line of type 2 action. There's some type 2 action where if it's just general maintenance of,
If it's in place, in kind, identical,
okay,
yes.
Got it.
No.
all right, that's what I must be
Then
thinking
it's
about.
type
I think it's a type,
that are
yeah.
needed for
Okay.
various stages.
Okay, thank you.
You ready?
Understanding this is an ongoing conversation and consideration, I would ask for a motion to set the dates.
Okay, number one, motion to set a date for a public hearing on July 12th at on or about 6:35 PM to propose considering the proposed increase and improvement of the facilities pursuant to town law, section 202B of the Sky Ridge Water District.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, carries.
Motion to set a date for a public hearing on July 12th at approximately 6:35 PM pursuant to Article 12A of town law to consider extending the Sky Ridge Water District to Sky Ridge Water District Extension number 1.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Oh, go. Go.
We will start.
Next up, set a date for public hearing for proposed local law to amend chapter 127 of the town of Manlius Code subdivision to clarify that each individual subdivided lot shall directly tie into public water to such lot. And so we have revisions. I believe mostly at the last meeting, we had some feedback on this, some concerns, and they were well taken into consideration, and we've got an updated copy of that law out there that sets it to make it clear that the intent is for newly subdivided lots in the future that exist within a water district at the time.
That want water.
That want water at the time they are subdivided.
So I would like to make a motion to set a date for a public hearing also on July 12th at about 6:35 PM to consider adopting a proposed local law amending chapter 127 entitled subdivision to further amend section 127-26A1I pertaining to water connections on newly subdivided lots.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Okay, so July 12th, we'll have lots of exciting public.
We should like set up lines, get in the right line.
We can get a little sign.
Great point, all about water. It's
Yeah.
Very important stuff.
We can make sure everybody sits next to each other too. so we can talk.
Okay, so the next item up is a road abandonment at Hammerhead at 5789 Tilton Road. Do we have a map to pull up? If not, that's not a problem. So just for some background on this, many times in the development process, you'll make roads, things will be deeded over to the town. It gets a little messy the further back you go, because we don't have everything on thumb drive. And so we're in a situation where we've received a request to abandon a road, which is essentially a paper street.
Yeah, that's never been there.
Yeah, that's never been. Yeah.
Sounds good.
We have no interest in putting a road through someone's property.
No.
Technically, it's actually not a road, it's a hammerhead or a turnaround. Okay, so they were intending to put a turnaround on Coventry Road. And it was never built. So the two wings of the turnaround are on the adjacent property owner's property. It's a 30 by 30 foot parcel of land that in the deed, in their abstract, shows the town of Manlius owns it.
Wait a second, so this is one of these opportunities, I'm not suggesting that this one should be it, but for like a community garden or like a rain garden.
Well, but
for
yeah,
this
this is not-
person's
this-
lawn.
yeah, this is not a social project.
I'm not this one. But I'm just saying, we should
You see
probably,
where that shed is up there?
yeah,
That's the 30 by 30 foot hammerhead. There's a.
Gotcha, sounds like-
Equivalent parcel probably on the other side of Coventry. That would, Where that? No, that's too small. But they haven't come in after that yet. So this is the, that's the 30 by 30 foot parcel.
thank you.
It's supposed to be highlighted, but didn't work that well.
So any other questions?
So my only question was, so we're abandoning we don't need it. And so are we giving it back to the owner?
Yeah, the person who lives at the corner of Coventry Road in Tilton.
Yeah.
I assume the individual has passed away. They're trying to sell the house. So the resolution I provided to abandon it goes to the estate of the individual.
Yeah.
So that they can then sell it out of the estate to the person who wants to buy it with the shed on their property.
Yeah, that sounds good.
This is one of those things that they thought was gonna be easy, and then lo and behold, there's a road on the property. Everything's gonna take longer, so the goal here is just kind of get.
So I provided a resolution for road abandonment, turnaround abandonment for your consideration tonight. And then if you approve it, the supervisor will be able to sign a deed on behalf of the town, so that will clean up that abstract.
So is that gonna be added to the tax?
Yeah, it'll come back.
30 by 30.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the resolution.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Can I ask a question? I live on Coventry Road and Tilton is 2 blocks up from where I live, but we use that.
Mhm.
And I heard that by abandoning that road, that part of Tilton and Coventry where they come together doesn't need to be maintained by the town anymore if you give back that abandoned.
We're only,
It's not
we're
that.
not maintaining it right now.
Right. They've actually built a house on that then.
No, right, no, we're only talking about that square where the shed is.
Yes.
That's the only thing that will
Okay,
be,
so not the.
that's the only thing, we're the 30 by 30 foot.
That current road is.
Yes, that's nothing on the road is gonna be abandoned. It's
Just wanted to-
it's the piece of property that's on. This
It looks like a
person-
yard right now, it's just someone's yard.
Yeah, you would look at it, you wouldn't even know.
They've
that
actually
it
built
was-
a house.
Yeah, no, it's just they drew a map and said, oh, maybe we'll build a road here, but they never did.
Right.
So it's just,
understand that.
the yard is gonna stay a yard. But the road. There couldn't be a house on the property, on the parcel we're talking about. There couldn't, because it's 30 by 30. But there's a shed there.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm sure it's under 144 square.
It's
feet.
not,
Yeah,
okay.
No, it's under 12 feet, it's 9 by 9, 9 by 9.
Here we go.
Legal shed.
Legal shed.
Okay,
There's
I
not a
would
lot of
like,
land up there, so.
I would like to make a
I
motion
just wanted to
to,
make sure that the road was gonna be maintained as it is.
Thank you. Could you just share your name with the clerk for the minutes?
Colleen McCoy.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize the abandonment and discontinuance of an obsolete turnaround that was never built located at 5789 Tilton Road. And in the resolution prepared by the attorney for this. Also.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Great. Okay,
We did 11.
covered Item 11 previously in the meeting. Number 12, replacement of an air conditioning unit at the TMPD. So basically, we've got an air conditioning unit that services the server room. We need to replace it. I know, between town manager Hood and folks over at the PD, they looked for a couple of quotes. We do have this one from Mapstone, which seems to be the most appropriate and efficient one and costly. And I know there was some conversation about funding, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull it from the current police budget from a repair line. And we'll, if there's any issues later on, we'll throw that up. But this is something that, while we appreciate the Village of Manlius hosting us there since 1985, I think it's fair to say we are renting a room that we have turned into a server room. I don't believe when we took that over from then, it was considered a server room. So this is why the town and the PD themselves are gonna be picking up the cost of this. And we have some pretty important equipment in there, everything nice and cool as we move into the winter months. So any questions?
Just an FYI, you don't need to, do we need approval? Oh, yes, right, you do. Can I make a motion to select and accept Doug Mapstone Inc.'s proposal, option number 2, to install a replacement AC unit at the Town of Manlius Police Department and authorize the supervisor to sign the proposal as presented?
Second that. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next up, Councilor Nicholson, we got a new town committee.
Sure, it's been a very long night, so I'll be loud and brief. So going back to the beginning of our meeting in the comprehensive plan, one of the community engagement efforts and study groups that convened was around stormwater issues. Perennial issues among residents in areas of the town where awash with too much water in the wrong places and not enough in the right places. And so from that study group were a number of recommendations moving forward. It was, correct me if I'm wrong, was one of the most engaged of the study groups. We'll flood a lot here. There's a lot of attention to these matters, particularly in the period of years within which this comprehensive plan was being developed. We had some extreme weather and a lot of reasons people would need to pay a lot more attention to the condition of our local watersheds. So one of the recommendations from the stormwater study group was to engage a citizen scientists group to help monitor and collect actionable data from the watersheds within the town of Manlius that could be utilized to pursue grant funding, get better information and data from our CD partner. And so that is what we have done. We have had a remarkable response from some truly passionate citizens and residents around this topic. We've conducted, two meetings already of the new committee. And for the record, the name that was settled on for this new town committee is the Manlius Watershed Stewards. This is a truly citizen-led committee. I am but a co-chair, but our chair of this committee is a citizen, a resident. And one of the other tasks that we're looking at is engaging experts to present on pertinent watershed issues over the course of the year, to investigate funding opportunities available for watershed protection, and again, actionable data, helping secure funds for projects that would be pertinent. To overall encourage ownership and buy-in of the town residents into the condition of our precious waters, and to help educate and inform folks on how to improve water movement through our area and how not to exacerbate stormwater issues, as we've been discussing, what to do and what not to do too fast. And to provide education and outreach as needed, and also just to develop a more evolved relationship to the vital watersheds throughout, and help residents understand how important protecting our vital assets are to our quality of life going forward. The committee as it stands today, of course, welcoming interested parties from all over the town, much input and participation as possible. But we have a pretty impressive group of partners right now, including members from key organizations and disciplines in the area, like the CNY Land Trust, Trout Unlimited, Isaac Walton League. We have academics and retired academics, environmentalists, and an overall attitude of how can we be better stewards of this precious, irreplaceable asset that we share here in our community. So with that being said, Town Clerk Weber is offered to help us updating our website with having a presence there. Until that time, I won't spill out too much information, but everything we're doing will be on the
new
See what I
webpage.
did there? Everything that we do have to offer will be on the webpage, coming up shortly, including how to participate with us, what our next speaker event will be, our next meeting, and our first real public outreach event, which will be on August 12th, so save the date. Any questions on that thus far?
Thank you.
Thanks to Councilor Water and Councilor Ballinger for including me in the Stormwater Study Group, as just, you know, a regular old resident who got tired of his property flooding every time it rained heavily and thinking, what can we do? It's not just me, it's a lot of people, you know, and my neighbors are all upset. We're all upset about it. What can we do? So fast forward a year and a half, 2 years, there's things we can do. So
That's great.
let's get to it.
That's great. Climate mitigation.
So.
Is Don Gates participating?
Don Gates is more than participating.
Great, great.
So I know it's a long meeting. We do have two outstanding items. One is the FOIL software that we've been looking at. I think we spoke about it maybe 2 meetings ago. I've worked with the town clerk and deputy town clerk to look at a few platforms. All very interesting, all very exciting, very different price points. Do you wanna?
Yeah, we've narrowed it down to the company, and I emailed everybody about this, that I think we'd like to select. It was unanimous amongst the three of us. You know, we brought John in because of his technical expertise, but he is somewhat involved with FOIL, and then Debbie also sat in as well because she handles, you know, the majority of the FOILs. I would like to proceed forward with this, and I'm requesting, as I said in my email, that we possibly use ARPA funds for this. I think this is a great utilization of those funds. It will give residents access to documents 24/7, and we can really utilize the system. It'll improve the FOIL process. It's got some efficiencies in there that, you know, I've documented very well. The only thing I'm looking for tonight is would be a motion to select just FOIA as the vendor. Once you make that motion, I'll reach out to them tomorrow and they'll get a contract ready. And then, you know, at the next meeting, that's when we can do all the budgeting motions. You know, in this as well, I did request in my email something that we haven't talked about for a very long time, which is a kiosk in town hall. So residents that didn't have access at home, they can come in. We'd have a big screen up. I think it'd be useful for planning and development when they pull up maps and stuff. They can go out in the hallway with the residents and just kind of pull up maps and things like that. So it would have it would be a good use.
Well, I
there
think
as well.
some of the conversation we had is Allison's had this wonderful idea of a kiosk for so long.
Yeah, since before we
And-
came.
Yeah, before we were here, and we stole that money to do the owls, to do the
We
streaming.
didn't steal it.
We reapportioned it to do other transparency minded items.
Borrowed.
So,
We budgeted.
the goal here too is the idea of what that kiosk is. Wait, a while ago, the first time Allison and I talked about it, it was.
Allison was really generous about that, by the way. Allison's like, you know what? Why don't you use this money that I was
Well,
setting aside for this?
Yeah.
At the time,
Thank you,
it was
Allison.
during COVID and it was that.
But I think we had this idea of a kiosk system that we were purchasing that is a whole big thing. Whereas what we have found is a virtual online kiosk that's gonna serve most of those needs. And now, rather than having to buy
We're
this
just buying a
big
screen.
thing, we're gonna buy probably a big touchscreen, a keyboard, mouse, and printer or something like that. And I think the biggest, well, okay, fair enough. But I think so much of the value here is, you know, when something is foiled. We might have received a FOIL request in the past that has the information. This software will store all of those FOIL requests, everything we've returned. And they'll be typing, I'm looking for this document, and it'll prompt them to say, hey, this document's currently available. I mean, that's just kind of the surface of how this is gonna provide efficiencies within town hall. It's gonna absolutely meet our transparency goals. I mean, we're constantly talking about increasing transparency. This is a great way to do that and get data directly into the hands of the residents. And we have had some conversations about prior to a FOIA request coming in, if we know something is gonna be in high demand, the potential to put it there so that if someone's gonna foil something, we can actually say, oh, we've already got it there, prepared, ready to go. The goal is to move people through the FOIA process as quickly as possible. We have a mandate for a certain amount of time we have. I know our team always pushes as fast as we can to get that back. This is just gonna make them better at it, so I would appreciate the support.
So the motion I would need tonight is just to select just FOIA as a vendor for FOIA software for the town of Manlius.
I'll make that motion. Second the motion.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Exciting one there.
we've already, defined our funds for technology, the group.
Yeah, so we have a couple avenues there, and then obviously, yeah, exactly. So it's a yearly cost.
Yeah.
So we'll, yeah, we can kind of bleed it into the budget a little bit.
My other question to you is just the kiosk. Will that be another user for our here?
That'll be a further conversation. Yeah, the goal is we'll get the software, we'll get through a lot of the implementation and, all the quirks that pop up with that. And then once we've got a system that we know is working, then we'll look at the technology that'll provide it there. And also too, I mean, even just having something out there that lets you access the town website is gonna be valuable.
I'm gonna assume that it's ADA compliant as a website or the kiosk itself is navigation is ADA compliant.
I think for most of these places,
I
in
have
order
to
to
assume.
sell municipal software, it
Yeah.
has to have that.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so we've got that, and then the last thing that I have is through the engineering RFP process, many interviews, many good conversations. We have, the interview committee has selected Labella as our town engineer. And what I would be looking for is a motion to declare them the town engineer, so that when we receive our letter of engagement to set up a retainer, I can go ahead and sign that, so we can begin that relationship.
Well, we want to see the letter.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But the goal is, so we can get them on board so that they've already been a fantastic partner working with us, specifically around the CFA applications. We have taken quite a bit of their time and they've been happy to provide it for me told. And so, the goal there too is, as we move forward with Lavella, to have that kind of retainer agreement that really prioritizes, Tom Poitras, Rob Cushing, making sure they have people on hand in person to help them with what they need to accomplish. And then any of the bigger projects that come up, so we've been talking about getting our new GIS system, we've been talking about the stormwater analysis, all of those things will be project-based, they'll have their own letter, their own cost, that way it's abundantly clear where what money is paying for what and what project is being funded.
So I make a motion to name Labella as our engineers.
Yeah, that's the second, we're happy, great choice.
All those in favor? Aye.
Or starting on.
Starting on July 1st.
Oh, thank you.
July 1st.
And we will have an agreement to approve.
We'll ultimately have an engagement letter that will be provided to you.
Thank you.
Okay, so as amended, all those in favor? Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. It was close, I almost forgot about it. We are now back on the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from June 4th through 2023.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Oh, good one. And I would like to ask for authorization of abstract number 12 in the amount of $513,550.76. We did some road work and we also did the drainage project in contract.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Right now, we're going to be in a collective groan.
Oh, no. Yeah.
We have to go into executive session. It's literally going to be 5 minutes. Okay, sorry, but
It's gonna be
it'll be a very short executive session. We need to go into executive session to discuss a
Wait, that's not why.
pending litigation matter.
Make a motion to go into executive session.
guys need
Discuss a
anything?
pending litigation matter.
I will second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Sorry,
Opposed?
but my house
Okay.
is back there.
Comment.
Yes, lying about the attention or lying about opinions about trees. Or what can we accuse you of?
Okay, seeing the business of executive session completed,
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay, good night, everyone.